Welcome to the Party Hard Summer Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Tyler Janin. I'm here with my co-host, Dallas LeDuc. You're listening to the Bunny Hug Farmers Podcast. I need to apologize. In our last episode, I was talking about a fence that myself and my family were rebuilding that was built by the prisoners of the war. So, to correct that, it was built during World War I, not World War II. There was still a camp, but it was during World War I, so which would make that fence around 100 years old. But anyways, getting back on topic here, Dallas, I haven't talked to you for a few days. What have you been up to lately?
Well, after harvest, basically we run everything until it was ran into the ground. We have 2 dead combines, and all 3 of the semis that we're using during harvest, they were all running, but barely. So we got the white peat in the shop. The air-to-air intercooler in it was leaking all over the place, and as soon as you put your foot into it, all you could hear is a scorching sound. Just, it was losing a lot of boost, 13,000 K since oil change or probably grease. So that's the first one in the shop. We're going through it. I'm fire chief down here. Little side note. And I've been fire chief for a few years now, maybe 3 or 4. And I made that one video about our fire equipment a little while ago on TikTok. You guys probably seen that one.
Yeah, I did. It's where you were doing a tour of the fire hall.
Doing the fire hall. And I said that one old pumper unit, it's pretty well out of life. Well, amazing how much traction that video got. And I got to thank Firefighters Without Borders. They actually found us a fire truck in St. Charles, Ontario. And it come from St. Charles, but it was donated to Firefighters Without Borders from Battle Shield Industries Limited, donated to Firefighters Without Borders. And that Firefighters Without Borders is now giving us a 2000 Freightliner FL80 pumper unit for our little fire department.
And that truck's a crew cab. You sent me a picture of it. It's a pretty nice looking fire truck. And I don't know fire trucks. I've never been on a fire department, and it looks nice.
The little FL80 is probably a 5-ton truck, crew cab. It's got some issues. I mean, with everything in this world, it's 25 years old. It's got some issues. That also makes it 15 or 16 years newer than our newest fire truck. So it's quite an upgrade. So been working on getting that lined up to get that shipped out here. And or if somebody listens to this and we haven't shipped it yet and you want to bring a fire truck from St. Charles, Ontario to Glentworth, Saskatchewan, message me. But by popular demand, should I introduce our guest there, Tyler, or you want to introduce our guest?
Dallas, I'll happily introduce him. So, back by popular demand, as Dallas just said, we have Kale Marks back, also known as Interstate Dream on TikTok. Kale has been a great friend and supporter of the podcast. So, Kale, how has your summer been?
It's been busier than normal. I usually have a pretty slack summer because I am a fairly small farm, but had a little bit more going on than normally, trying to move tractors and buy tractors and trying to work in your head what would be the right route so you can still get some work done in the fall, or you take on a big project or not, and it's kind of been interesting that way.
So did you get your Steiger sold? Like, obviously I know the answer to this, but some of our listeners might not. But did you get it sold? And if you did, what did you buy?
Yes, the FW30 that was repowered with that 855 in it. I worked a lot in the summer fixing all the things I should have fixed the whole time I've been using it. Like, I ran it for 9 years, I believe, and had next to no interior in it. Never had AC till the last 2 years. The day we bought it, the key broke off in the ignition, and we just used a screwdriver for 9 years. Who cares? And I went through that thing pretty good and fixed all that stuff. Put a new key in it, put a full cab kit in it, a new stereo in it, did all of those little odds and ends that aren't a make or break on the tractor, but really help the selling feature of it when you're going to look at something like that. So it finally moved in harvest, and it went down to, I think between you two, I think it was Drinkwater, Saskatchewan, and a guy who wants to use it kind of as a land rolling tractor and slightly fix it up a little bit more, because the Ford is a little harder to find than the Green Stagers, even though it's a Panther PT 310 or so, kind of the same tractor, but he wanted to fix it up a fair bit and have a very clean, usable tractor, but he just wanted good bones, and that tractor definitely had that. I'm all crippled up from years of bull riding, and me and the cab did not get along.
So that is the next big question. You upgraded to a big old Massey 4900, I believe, right?
Yes, I asked TikTok, I'm like, well, I know the ones that are listed, and there was a really nice 4840 with a PTO listed with 5,000 hours, and I was humming on that because there's not enough power for me. So I kept humming, do I repower it and try and rush repowering it to do fall work? Do I ignore it, repower it over winter? Or the main thing I need the power for is that big disc I have. Other than that, I don't need the power. Maybe do I just rethink the whole farm and ditch the real big disc and just buy a smaller disc? And it's going back and forth and couldn't figure it out, and asked TikTok if there was any guys who had one sitting out back that they'd like to sell. And someone reached out and had a 4900 with 5,000 hours ish. The one hour gauge quit and they put a new one in, and it works out to like 4,800. And I'm sure it ran out of seeding or something like that before they got changed, but we'll call it 5,000. And said, well, it's been sitting for 2 years, but it's a solid tractor, and gave me a price that was very fair. Like, I was looking at tractors with blown engines for a similar price to this one. So no haggling. Yeah, deal, sight unseen, put it on a truck, and it showed up in the yard. And okay, well, let's see what we got.
So is the 4900, is that much different than, like, I know neighbors of ours had a 4880. Is that much different than that?
So the 4800, 4840 were non-turboed 903s. Then the 4880, 4900 were turboed. So really, if you had either of the two halves, you could tune them to the other one, but you had to do turbo injectors, and I'm guessing, don't know for sure, they probably had different compression ratio. The 325 and 375 horse, you could tune them to each other. And after the fact, that series of tractor turned into the 5200, which was still Massey, but it had a slope at the end of the nose because I believe they put 855 in it. Massey then sold the four-wheel drive line in 86, I believe. And when a lot of the four-wheel drive comes, they're having trouble. It went to McConnell Mark. And McConnell Mark was making a 900 and a 1000, they called them, I believe. And you could get them, I think they were 360 horse or 425. But you get them with a 60 series Detroit or an 855. And that ran for years. And I don't know exactly when it kind of got mothballed. And then they sold it back to AGCO. And AGCO Star, which is just AGCO, but put a new name on it for some reason, started making the AGCO Star 8 360 and 8 425, which was a 360 horse and a 425 horse with the same two engine options. But they went and put a 18 speed in it. And I've never ran one, and I don't know if you can shift them on the fly or exactly how that works, but the cab and the frame are essentially the same from that 02 AGCO Star to, I think, the first year of my series is 79 or 80.
So they didn't change a whole lot on them then, other than...
No, they changed the diffs out and the tranny out, and that was kind of the big complaint on mice error. And the diffs, from what I've read, I'm no expert. We used to own a 4840 back in the day, and we had these problems. The diffs, the wheel bearings will go out of them, and it'll take out the whole diff because they're inboard planetaries, so it gets real expensive. But if you check your deflection and do your diffs about every 5,000 hours, it costs like $800 to do the diffs if you do it yourself, like in parts, and can save you thousands. So I think, although that's a problem, that's a pretty manageable maintenance problem.
So is that this winter TikTok series I'm looking forward to watching?
I think so. I'll have to bring them to the shop and actually jack it up and check deflection on them. But yeah, I definitely sold the Stagger for more than I bought this one for, so there is money sitting aside for doing all those things, like the interior kit. They said the AC worked every spring. If you recharge it, it would make the year. And we went to charge it the other day, and the compressor spit the clutch belts out, or the clutch pack, spit them right out of the compressor instantly. I went, oh yeah. So I know AP Air offers a whole line kit for the AC. So I might buy the whole kit, put all new AC lines in it, and have the AC good where we don't have to worry about it for years. And go a little bit above than I normally do. Like I run more of a breakdown maintenance. We try and do some maintenance, but I don't get crazy with it ever. So it'll be nice to do just a couple of those creature comforts and get them above the normal standard, so they're problem free for a while.
Oh yeah, because if you can do that stuff and get it looked after, get that AC all changed out. I mean, so what year would that 4900 be? Late 80s?
In 83, I believe they only made them 79 or 80 to 83 or 4. They kind of had a short run when, I don't know, whatever year. At the same time, they were all having trouble, all the four-wheel drive companies.
Yeah, so once you run it through your shop and do your massaging to it, and I would imagine you can get your big old knees and legs stretched right out in her.
The other day, had a buddy in there on the first pass around the field. I was stretched out. He was sitting over. They have a little buddy seat, and they have a big step on next to the door you can kind of sit on. We were both comfy as can be. And you could never do that and shut the door in that Stagger.
Well, it was kind of like a telephone booth on tires.
Oh, they're terrible. A lot of people love Steiger, and I think once you're talking about that 1000 series cab and up, you have a good point. But I never seen the hype on those older Steigers. And we ended up with one, but it was just a pure price. We bought the cheapest four-wheel drive on Kijiji, I think it still was back then. And we put a lot of money into that, made that tractor a lot more than when it first showed up on the farm.
Yeah, we had one with we'd only had it for a quarter of a season. I forget what it was, little Bearcat. No, it wasn't the newer stock cab, it was the old cab. We didn't have it very long, and the motor wasn't enough power, and I didn't like the transmission when it was in low range, made some terrible sounds, and we traded that off on the world's most famous 9280. So, but that's just like the Puma 1000 cab. I mean, that's the 88 and up cab. It's so much better room, better doors, everything's just... I mean, Stagger really had something going their way when they got bought out.
Yeah. Well, that's that 1000 series cab I was talking about. And I know me and Tyler were bickering about it one day. He said, wow, Massey sold out. Like, why would you go that way and over the Stagger? And at what year did Steiger not become Steiger? Like, there was, well, Case bought them, but the new ones have nothing to do with them. Like, after that 9380 kind of series, like, they kind of, to me, they're dead after that. I think you're holding on to something that's good, but to say like that's the Steiger, well, it's a Case.
Yeah, once they go to the STX series, I basically agree with you. Then they had gone a long ways away, but they're still way better than anything Case had before. I mean, the articulating tractors the Crabster tractors, I mean, they weren't very good, and they had dropped the international 2+2s, so they got rid of the anteaters, so they really had to have something.
And I've seen a little clip about growing corn, Tony Reed talking about it. And he said if Case never bought Steiger, would Steiger still be a tractor company today? Or would they be like all the other tractor companies like Oliver and that have disappeared?
Well, that's a great
I heard
question.
someone on TikTok was talking about the other day who knew a lot more than I know. I don't know a lot about it, but saying that, well, Steiger had a great company and a great design and all this, but the bank wasn't going to give them any more money. And I said, wow, I guess the company's done then. If you have no float, you're done. Like, and what year did Steiger sell out? 86?
Probably something like that.
Yeah, that's right, Kale. In 1986 is when Steiger sold to Case.
Yeah. And so they had a good product then with that new cab. But, a lot of people are giving me grief. Well, why would you go with a Massey? Massey didn't sell to ACO till 90, I think. Like, I think people have their head that Massey was like, oh, they were failing, but they lasted longer. They struggled longer and made it farther than Steiger did. Now, whether it's a better product or not, no, but it has to stand for something. The company had to have been in better standing to last that much longer.
And the power shift in them wasn't a terrible transmission. And the cab, I've rode in the cab. They're a nice, big, comfortable cab. Really, once you rev that 903 up and once you get that thing fired up and everybody stops floating 911 because they think there's a forest fire over top the hill and it's just warming at 903 up, they can pull like the Dickens. That's a powerful, torquey, high revving, pretty powerful motor though.
Yeah, well, they're heavy. So comparing it to that Steiger, I don't think it has much more power. The 350 horse that the Steiger had, this is supposed to be 375. I don't think there's a big jump, but the tractor is hooking up and moving better with that big disc. I think it's more of a weight issue than anything, but I don't know. All these tractors that age are going to have problems or not. But if you look in 83, what do you got? You still have a 4994 Case, which has that big Scania, but it still is a crab steer. The Tigers were great, but if you jump down from the Tiger, the Panthers aren't amazing. They still have the small cab, and there's still no power shift. Yes, you get that automatic. I've never ran one, so can't talk on them. Oh, what would Deere have in 83? They never had nothing spectacular back then. They got better in the late 80s.
Like an 85 50 or 85, 60, maybe. Nothing overly great.
Because
Then
they
you-
still ran that sound guard cab at that time, did they not?
Oh, yeah.
I believe-
yeah.
And
And then you'd have
I-
Versatile.
I just can't get behind that sound guard cab.
No, not being symmetrical drives me crazy.
Well, I've sat in a few of them, and it just drives me nuts, that pillar being right in line with your left eye.
Well, that covers over your air intake, and your muffler is all right down that sight line.
Yeah, but your muffler and your air intake are 6 feet away. This line in the cab, it's 2 feet away from your face. There's a big difference there.
I know. It takes a while to get used to. And not to mention that cab is a long ways back. You are sitting just right above the drawbar. Like, you are way back there.
Yeah, a lot like the case.
But the cab is a lot quieter than they were in the previous ones. But
And then would Versatile have this like 56 series yet out, or still like a 50, like an 850, or was it an 856 by that year?
and we had a 1983 835 Series 3 with a PTO. So it's the exact same timeline. That was a pretty good tractor, but again, no power shift.
And that would still have the square cab, or would that have that kind of octagon-y
No, square cab. That Octagon cab didn't come out to right when they become part of Ford, I believe.
So
But that
Yeah,
wasn't a very big cab either. I think more than
Yeah.
the Stagger by far, but it wasn't a huge cab.
yeah, and I'm sure. Well, we're leaving out Polaris. Polaris had a good cab. Everything else sucked, but they were heavy and they pulled good. But I wouldn't advise ever running one.
They had a 7-foot-long couch sitting right in the middle of the cab. You could put 4 people on each side.
You could double date in that thing. We owned one.
I guarantee there's been some Russians have probably went on a double date in the cab of a big Polaris tractor. And if you've been
Yeah.
on a double date in the cab of a Polaris tractor, please email Tyler Janin at
No, you can email us at thebunnyhugfarmers@outlook.com.
Bunny Hug Farmers. If you've double dated in the cab of a Polaris, email us. I want to hear that story.
We owned one in the 80s, like before my time. And the old man said it pulled amazing. You just didn't want to be the one running it. Like if you get a hired hand in an old Polaris, they were like 35,000 pounds at 300 horse. For 1980, that's a pretty stout tractor.
My Uncle Fabian, God bless his soul, always said if you ran a Polaris, you need to drink about 2 or 3 gallons a day of water. And I was just a young kid when he told me this joke. And I said, well, why do you have to drink so much water? He said, so you can get outside and piss and look for oil leaks. Because he said that thing will be leaking oil all over the place. You just want to look for the new ones.
I heard that too. And apparently ours had next to no oil leaks. But my grandpa, he was an old drunk. He had some other drunk hired on to run it. And apparently they'd stop all the time and just walk around with the crescent wrench and just check everything. And the thing didn't leak, but eventually they wore the tires off it. And they didn't offer that size of tire in Canada. So they, well, what do we do with this thing? So they sold it for nothing. And the next year they came out with that size or a different size that would fit on that rim. And that thing ran up to about, I think 6 years ago, and it's down in Bow City, Alberta still.
That'd be cool. You should have toured over and seen it on your holiday.
Well, I've seen it. It's parked within sight of the road. You can see it. Apparently it lost a tire or something like that, and it's just sitting there.
It's kind of like that. What's that Minneapolis Moline tractor that had the big cab on it?
If it's the 4-wheel drive, it was just the same
No, it
as
was a
the,
2-wheel drive thing.
Is that the one that was half car? It went like 40 mile an hour?
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about. You could.
Yep.
Kids took it to school, and they got home. On the way home, they hooked up to the plow.
Is that a Jetstar or something?
That might be it.
I've seen Jetstars, a really sporty looking hood for like late 40s, early 50s, but I've never seen one cabbed.
Because I know I've seen one in person, and I've seen lots of them online. There's one at the museum there in Saskatoon, the Western Development Museum, and they kind of got a barricade around it, so you can't get up to it and actually check out how big the cab actually is. But it looks like a big cab. Like it's got 2 full-sized windshields in it, kind of like the old 359 Pete's have.
That would be cool. I've never been to that museum in Saskatoon. I've been to the one in Moose Jaw a few times, but I haven't been to Saskatoon. I guess a guy should swing out of their way because, I mean, you know, in some of my old junk, I'm sure they probably have parts for me too. So I could just check that out from part shopping.
Well, next year when we go to AIM and we can convince Kale to come out to AIM, the 3 of us will jump in the truck and we'll go check out the Western Development Museum.
I got that V10 Dodge, and it is a big financial thing for me to drive out to Saskatchewan with it with a trailer. I need to plan ahead a little bit for that.
Well, you could jump on the train. The train comes right to Saskatoon. Get on a Via Rail, buy an overpriced train ticket.
Have you ever priced out what that is, like across Canada?
It's like $7,000, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unreal.
Really?
Like
Holy.
just to be, and that's like one of the bottom tier seats. Like, that's just like sitting in a bus seat. Like, if I'm going to spend $7,000, I'm going to jump in the half ton and spend a fraction of that in fuel.
Yeah. And going through the mountains on that train probably is really nice. And no heat your guys' way, but some parts of Saskatchewan are really nice. But I don't think the train tracks are taking the scenic route through Saskatchewan. I'm thinking it's probably.
And you could get the shitty luck of the draw, and you could go through the mountains in the dark.
It's Saskatchewan in the daylight.
And
That's what I would
Saskatchewan in the
have.
daylight. Like, so shifting gears here a little bit, Kale. You sent me a Snapchat in the middle of harvest there, and I was actually a little worried about you. I was wondering if I was going to have to pick up Dallas on my way out to your neck of the woods, and we were going to have to do a little bit of shoot, shovel, and shut up. But you turned out to be okay. But you had a run-in with some local, I'm going to say it, crackhead, and fortunately you're okay. But do you want to tell a story on that? I know you briefly talked about it on your TikTok channel, but let's hear the full nitty-gritty story.
Yeah, we can get into that. I told it so many times right after it happened that I got sick of listening to myself talk, but it's been a break. I can see if I can remember it all in the proper contents of everything. But yeah, it was right in the middle of harvest. I had just finished wheat, and I had the truck loaded with wheat, and I said, I ain't taking it in tonight. I'll take it in tomorrow. So the next morning, 9:30 in the morning, well, let's go over to the grain buyer. There is 6 miles away or ish, all gravel. No, actually, I think I dumped in his yard at 9. No big deals, and I start heading home on the gravel, and you cross the highway, and you're like 3 miles in, and just daydreaming, just cruising. It's been so dry, it's just crazy dusty. So you're cruising at decay and can't see anything behind you. It's just dust. So I'm going, and all of a sudden a truck starts. It's past. I didn't even know what's passing me in the ditch. You can't see. And all of a sudden this Ford, I don't know if it was a 6 liter. It looked like 6 liter, but I think it was newer. Comes past me in the ditch and cuts me off in front of on the road. And it's kind of like surreal. You're like, what? First thought is, how long have you been back there to be that mad? Like, I've only been on the gravel for 3 miles. And he kind of skating around the road a little bit. And I was just, what's going on here? And he doesn't put that truck straight sideways across the road, but he gets it across and stops it. And he was floating everywhere because he had no tires left on it, which I didn't notice because this is 10 seconds. What the hell? So I get stopped real quick, which is my biggest problem in this whole story. But I had to get stopped now. And what the hell? And he jumps out, and he isn't frantic, but he's coming at the truck, and I need help. I need help. And like, so I start opening the door, and he's getting closer. And he's, Kale, I need help. Well, he knows me. Who the hell is this? And he's right up to the door, and then I notice it's the local meth head that he went to school with my little brother, so he knows who I am. He's right there at the door before I clue into who it is, because I haven't seen him for years. I went, now we're in trouble. So he pulls the door open, and I need this truck. I'm in the semi, like I'm hauling grain. No, I need this truck now. And he starts trying to come in through the door. I'm still like, this is a joke, right? And he's halfway in the door trying to pull me out. And then it finally clicked, like, this is a problem. I can't lose this truck in the middle of harvest. So we're all balled up in the cab. So I hit him once in the nose or whatever, and not hard. Like, you're all balled up. You can't get a good swing or anything. But it was enough not for him to like fall out of the truck, but to stumble back out. And that Western Star, I was in the 88 Maroon Star, has a ginormous door handle on it for some reason. And I grabbed it with both hands and slammed it as hard as I could. And he stuck both arms in there, and he didn't even make a noise. Like, it must have hurt, but not a noise from him. And I pulled it open, and I did it again as hard as I could, and he stuck his arms right in there again. Smashed them both again, and I went for the third, and he finally kept his arms out of there, and I got the door locked, and he's trying to rip it open on. So I grab a gear, but I'm still in high range because I stopped so quick. So I just install it. And as soon as I did that, he went running for his truck, and it stalls, and he stops and goes running for the passenger's door while I'm getting it restarted. And the passenger door in that truck doesn't have the button on top of the door lock. So I go across the cab, and I'm just smashing this stupid rod down with my hand to get it locked. Cut my hand all up, but I get it locked right before he gets to it. Grab a gear real quick again, because now you're panicky. Holy hell. High range, freaking high range. Get it into low range. And he's up on that passenger side, holding on the mirror and punching the window as hard as he can. And I finally grab a gear and get moving. Holy hell, thinking, well, now we're clean and clear. And we start rolling. I said, you better get off now. And he said, no, I'm taking this truck. And you could just see he's all like beady-eyed, like, I had a lot of buddies like, well, why didn't you just beat the wheels off him? I said, have you ever seen a meth head fight? You cannot hurt them.
Probably don't.
Like,
They
they're
don't.
just
Probably
no,
don't know. They don't feel any pain if they're that whacked out.
no, like I've seen them fight before and you just stand back, holy hell, like you got to end eventually. They don't. And I'm sitting here going, I have a lot to lose. I need this truck in the middle of harvest. And it's worse because I now own that truck. I bought off the old man, but the old man said, well, I paid for insurance till the end of the year. You might as well just let that run out. So it's still in his name and probably insured for nothing and not coming back to me. It's holy, like we cannot lose this. So I start grabbing gears and I said, you best get off now. He says, I'm going where you're going. I said, perfect. We're going to the cops. And I make my first left, which is heading back to town. And I'm going about 80K now down the gravel. There's not a lot of trees down that road, but there's some saplings in the ditch. And I'm right in the ditch with that semi and they're brushing him and he's not liking it. He's punching that window, trying to bust it out. And I'm looking around the cab and there's nothing in there. Like there's a Tim Hortons cup and an old palm leaf hat my old man left in there. What the hell am I going to do? Like, I had grab more gears and it's crazy how quick things start happening. Like, oh, you should have done this. And I grabbed the phone, went to dial 911, call canceled, didn't go through. Did it again. What the hell? Doesn't work. And he still punched the window. I tried to film him and that slowed him right up. He spun around and wouldn't show his face since I did that. And to later find out it never actually worked because everything's going on so quick. But it slowed him down. We're hitting trees and finally something snaps in him. He's got sick of getting smacked in the face by saplings. And he rips the passenger mirror right off of that truck. But he has his arms looped through the mirror framing. And he has that mirror and he says, well, now you force my hand. I'm going to kill you now. You're dead. And takes that mirror and starts trying to smash the window of that mirror. And things kind of escalated down. I think he's mad. And I'm nowhere near anything. I'm trying to call the cops again. It's failed again. I'll go, what am I going to do? I cannot let him in this cab. So he's wearing out. Like he's slowing down a little bit on smashing that window and it will not break. And I'm just amazed this side window will not break. I went, we're going to have to cut a deal here. I'm not losing this truck. If I slow down, you want to bail? And he's looking around and we're coming up to a yard. He goes, slow down and I'll bail. And I look up and I see that yard. And I go, oh, I do not. They have a junkyard of trucks that are like runners, but junkyard trucks. I not want to let him in that yard because he's going to be gone. So I'm kind of like coasting, but keeping my speed enough he won't jump, but trying to get past that yard a ways. And he goes back to smashing that window. Say, now or never. And I go, fine. And I slow up, probably like 40K, and he ditches. I went, oh, thank God, we're out of that wreck. And I grab my phone, look up the RCMP's like normal phone number, call him. And I said, that meth head just tried to steal my rig on the road and he ditched on this road. And I look in the mirror and said, the cops are pulling me over. Now we're good. We were not good.
It gets worse? How could it get worse?
Oh, it gets worse. The next part's going to come off like really disrespectful to the cops. And it is and it isn't. I know they're really restrained on what they can do, what they can't. But I think the general public's just getting so frustrated with this stuff. And I had enough that day. Like, so they're pulling me over. Oh, everything's good. So I get pulled over and this cop would have been behind me when he jumped, but the dust was so thick. And I shut the truck off and I get out and I'm walking towards him. I'm like, he was trying to rob my truck. He jumped off right at that yard. We're like a quarter mile away. He is in that yard and he's going to be stealing a vehicle. And all I got was get on the ground. You're under arrest. I said, no, crackhead's that way. No, you're under arrest. And I said the guy's name. He said, well, how do you know his name? I said, oh, the meth head that you guys let out every week? Everyone knows his name. And he thought that I was the guy stealing stuff and just trying to say a random name to get out of it. I said, okay. And I'm getting put in handcuffs. I'm like, okay, I get you have to detain me, but get someone in that yard. No, I don't believe you. Where'd you get the semi from this morning? I said, my yards and the insurance is in the glove box. It'll be to my old man. There's a weigh scale ticket on the passenger seat for 9.9 tons of wheat in my name from half an hour ago. Like all this, he's no. And he throws me in the back of the cop car. And he didn't turn his radio off in the cop car. So he's on the radio outside saying this guy's full of shit. And we need to look up him and we got him and all this. And I'm in there like, you don't. Trying to tell you here, holy hell. And he's kind of being a dink about the whole thing. And all of a sudden over the radio, another cop goes, there's a loud Dodge leaving that yard cross country at a high rate of speed. And they go, Oh, yeah, no shit. The yard I told you to go to? So he lets me out. Oh, well, sorry, a big misunderstanding. And then I went off on him about this catch and release program they're doing. And I'm so sick of it. And their response, which I get, they said, we can only do so much. We're not letting him go. The court system is. And I just go off on him like, you have more say than I do. You see a lot more judges than me. Maybe it's time you freaking speak up. Sick of this shit. Especially when I'm in 9:30 in the morning in the back of a cop car. Well, the meth head gets across the field because you won't listen to me. So I was pissed. And they kind of, okay, take your truck. We'll call you to get a statement, blah, blah, blah. And they go off chasing him again. And you're just 9:30 in the morning, rattled. Like, what the hell just happened? And okay, so I guess we better go start combines. Like, I don't know, like, just rattled from the whole thing.
So did he have his gun drawn on you too?
No, he didn't. But yeah, made me lay down on the gravel and everything and handcuff me. And
Did they catch the meth head?
no, they wouldn't listen to me. He got away. He got her.
Is he still on the loose?
I've heard rumors, but I've seen nothing listed. He was on the RCMP's Most Wanted the next week, like their Facebook thing. But yeah, so, well, it gets worse. It gets worse and worse. So he comes out and does his statement and they just record it all, after. So, well, I am sorry about that. What, that you didn't listen? Like, I'm still sour at him. So whatever, it all gets away. Then he tells me that he got away. They had to give it up because he was being too dangerous. I said, well, maybe that's the reason to actually catch him, But apparently it's worse because he actually falls into armed robbery, but it seems nothing to matter for him anyway. So he's frustrated. I'm frustrated. I got no mirror in my truck anymore. Luckily, the window didn't break somehow. So through all this, I get back to the yard to unload the next truck during the day. I think the other center was filled, and my brother comes out because he heard all about it because his his wife works for a company, and they all run CBs, so they got to hear it all. So he's, oh, interesting morning, and I'm telling him the whole story, and I'm so mad. I called 911 3 times, and I show him my phone, and he looks at my phone, and he goes, that says 991. And I look at my phone.
Oh, you're trying to call me?
He's laughing at me. He goes, I see how that could happen, but that's funny. I go, no, it's not. Because like my number and my buddy's number start with 991 instead of 911.
Mine ends with 991.
But the whole thing, it's crazy how much like you think you'd do in a scenario like that. Think of everything you would do. Now think of how you would be able to do that if you could only do about 15% of what you think you could. Like, that's how the whole scenario feels. Like, it's surreal. Like, I stayed the next night, that night I couldn't sleep because it was all like, if I had my other star, I got a bunch of screwdrivers on the floor. I keep the handle for the gates in the cab. I got that big push bumper on it, like running through every scenario of like, if that happened again in that other truck, I'm set. Or I would have done this time or that. Well, you don't get another time, one time.
Well, and you're in so much shock when that's happening. Like, you almost go into defensive mode. Just, I got to get out of here. Like,
yeah,
you don't think that I need to be this big hero that everybody says you should have been after the fact.
Yeah, everyone, you should beat the wheels on them. I said, well, you're welcome to try next time. Like, give her.
He's still on the loose. You go find him and beat the wheels off of him.
Yeah, it's like I had everything to lose, and he's on the run with nothing to lose. It's hard to beat someone who has nothing to lose.
And that's part of the problem is that catch and release program, that the justice system lets them out way too soon. They should double the penalties and make jail not such a nice place to be. I think, what did our old premier in Saskatchewan here say years ago? They were complaining, the inmates were complaining about the food. And he's like, if you don't like the food in jail, don't be in jail. So I guess the rest of the judges heard that and said, oh, we'll just let them out. They don't like the food.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing gets worse because, like, you think something like that, like, whoa, that's an isolated incident. But it's not. They're just not telling us half the stuff that goes down. I was at a Friendsgiving. Buddy puts on a Friendsgiving because a bunch of us don't like your family and we want Thanksgiving. So we have a Friendsgiving. We're sitting there at this fire all drinking and everyone's asking about it. So I tell the whole story. And this big ginger guy looks at me and goes, oh, yeah, he tried to hijack me like a month ago or 2 months ago. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I was crossing that bridge and this Ford passes me, tries to run me off the road, and is hanging a shotgun out the window. I said, what? And he said, yeah, they went for 10 miles playing bumper cars down the highway, him trying to run him off the road and have that shotgun to get his truck. And he actually called 911 and they met him at the one road and they arrested him there with the shotgun. Same guy. And he said he was out the next day. And I've never heard anything about this because it looks bad on the RCMP if they keep letting you know about these things. So I get why they don't tell us, but let's be truthful about the fact, the problems that we're having, not reporting on it, ignoring it all. That's making it worse.
Well, and they're telling us to leave our keys by our doors. So if criminals want to steal our vehicles, the keys are more accessible for them. That's a joke. Like, literally, that's a joke. That's like saying, you might as well just, next thing they're going to say is leave the keys in the ignition downtown Regina and North Central so somebody doesn't break the window in your car and hotwire it. It's essentially the same thing. It's a joke, really. There needs to be more stiffer penalties for people committing these crimes. Like, with how expensive life is, it's getting harder and harder for the honest person to make a living, but we're making it easier and easier for the person who wants to sit on their ass and just take something that they didn't earn. And it really frustrates a guy, and I can see how you are really worked up about this, Kale. I'm worked up about it because you're my friend, and I'm worried. I was worried that you weren't okay, but it's getting to be a scary world out there. It's getting easier and easier for the criminal to get by versus the honest, hardworking person.
And there's so much more to it when you look big picture. Like, okay, if the government or court doesn't care about my well-being or however they want to word it or however it plays out in real life, there's a good section of time, like 10 years ago, where a 6-liter Ford in my area, because I'm between two big oil field towns, you could buy a 6-liter Ford cheaper than it would cost you to insure it for a year. Because there's so many white Fords in the area all getting stolen that you could not afford to insure one in this area. Like, the insurance on everything is going through the roof covering these thefts. Like, if they don't care about my well-being, fine. But eventually someone should care about the money. That's usually only thing they care about.
Well, that's what you see on like Facebook groups there. Did somebody lose a truck? It's been sitting out here at the end of this back road for, whatever time, and it's burned up or it's smashed or it's just sitting there. Somebody stole it and joyrided it and trashed it, and that's where it lives now. So again, they need when they catch these people, I mean, probably a lot of people would do way less crimes if they knew the punishment was going to be that severe right off the bat.
Have you ever been on YouTube and looked up the tent city jails in Arizona?
No.
So in Arizona, I don't know if it's still a thing, but I looked it up because I sometimes like watching those prison documentaries just to see what it actually is like. And they have this one, it's a tent city. So it's not a building. It's literally like an army tent. And the prisoners stay in this tent. This is where they sleep at night. And then they go out and do hard labor during the day in the Arizona sun in the middle of summer, 50-degree heat. The warden there says, and these are guys that just done small crime like vehicle theft, drug charges and stuff like that. Like, they don't have murderers there or anything. They say the guys that they put through this, because they like wake them up at 4:00 in the morning to make them go out and do like construction on highways. A lot of times those guys, they never see them back. And maybe that's a little more on the side of inhumane, but if you lock them up and prison isn't the most enjoyable place to make it, or you don't try to make it a nice place to be, but be humane at the same time, maybe you would see some of this crime back off if we actually put some of these people away for a while to make them suffer the consequences of their choices.
Yeah, we'll get the Canadian government to build some tents in Arizona, and we'll just ship our criminals down there. I like it. That sounds like a hell of a good idea. Just, the further away from me, the better. And yeah, I'm game. Yep, go for it. Tyler for president.
Alaska started doing that with their homeless. Alaska figured out it was cheaper to buy a plane ticket to California than it was to house them for 2 weeks. So they started buying homeless plane tickets.
Well, that's how Australia was formed. That's what they just started dropping off a bunch of criminals there. And then they realized this is a pretty nice place. But the criminals were already there first. I think it was some of the British settlements that's where they just dropped their criminals off. Nope, you're done. You live here on this tropical island.
I think Louisiana started that way too, but you had to marry a and take her with you.
And speak French too, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's we I don't know how we got into this, but this is pretty wild. But the next question, let's get back to farm talk, which is not really nothing. Actually, I want to talk about your pavement sled. Have you taken that thing for a rip yet, or how's the pavement sled coming?
Progress was, just picking away every week, work on it an hour or two, and then harvest hit. I haven't looked at it. I got the gasket kit right in the middle of harvest to pull the engine down, but I haven't done anything with it. I need to get on that. I did September long week and go out with Libas. They run a bunch of pavement sleds and went to Rimby and got to help them. Because of the sleds, you pull them up to the starting line because they have no cooling system. was helping pull them up and helping hook cooling carts up and stuff like that. But it's good just to see that whole side of it, because I haven't done any of this. I'm just building a pavement sled with just what I think makes sense and some guidance from people who've done it. But it's not like this set formula or something I've done 100 times. Like, it's just, let's just wing it. We'll see what happens here.
That's gonna be cool to watch you get back at that, and take it down the track someday will be. Again, I'm like a lot of other people. I'm just a big fan of Kale here, so I'm just waiting for this thing to head down the track.
Yeah, well, and I was trying to rush it at first, just get it going so you get the motivation to keep going on it. And then once I missed the timeline of that last race, I kind of slowed up. But like, I went and found all new suspension from newer mountain sleds that if I do a little machining just for bushing size, I can get on there. So I weighed all the front suspension from that 95 ZRT. And I think all this is like a mid 2000s Mountain Cat or something, all this new suspension. And with shocks and the A-arms and spindles changed, the front end's going to be 14 pounds lighter, which some people are like, oh, 14 pounds. But like, when you're trying to skim down on things that you still have to have, like I went from, it's not that I could just throw parts out. It was, I'm taking this A-arm off and putting this one on. There's still the same amount of parts there. To lose 14 pounds is a big gain.
That'll gain speed.
The best gains are still you took this 20-pound thing off and threw it in the trash and never put it back on. Those are the best gains. But like, once you run out of those, that's when these kind of little gains get that much more important.
Yeah, well, 14 pounds could gain you 1/10 of a second in a race, and that could be the difference between losing a race or winning a race.
Yeah. And tuning is such a thing, which was crazy because when we went out with Liebes there, they had one sled they've been running over the years consistently, but two other sleds that they haven't ran. One sled they haven't ran in 10 years, this 800 or 1000 triple. Another sled they got given to them, the chassis, and they put a motor in, they've never ran it. And then his son, Warren, had built this CC triple full mod that had never ran, and he built it in 2 months, I think. So they're mostly fresh sleds. And from the first day to the second day, most of them picked up like 20 miles an hour in tuning just by simple carb adjustments and some clutch adjustments to pick up 20 miles an hour in the eighth.
So is there any EFIs in pavement sled racing, or is it all carbureted?
No, these other guys, I forgot their name. They have this monster of I think it's an Arctic Cat. It was a turboed, like 240 horse sled, like a monster. They were all EFI, the turboed ones. But I think the second day he blew a belt apart and wrapped it all around the secondary and everything. And he said, it's done for the day. Like, it's a job to pull it apart.
So would he be in a different class then, or?
With the bracket racing, from what I paid attention, I'm terrible with all the classes, but it just seemed that the bikes and sleds went together. Because you could have a 9-second bike running against a 6-second sled. But if you break your bracket, you still lose. So I'm not really big on all the bracket racing. There's all this, it's like poker. I'm going to say my time is faster than it actually is and see if he tries to outrun me and beats his time, or do it slower and I'm just going to let off in the end, or change a clutch setting and try and run slower purposely.
So you can't get eliminated for sandbagging then?
No, as long as, from what I gather from it, is you get to write your time you're going to run and whoever's the closest to it. And you can change your time every run.
But as long as you don't break your time, you can't go faster than what you predict, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if you do, you're out. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how there's going to be some bracket races. Like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't know. I've never done it. I went and watched them.
Yeah, I'm going to go fast. That's my goal. Do we go fast now?
So getting back to farming here, you also had some issues with a combine here this fall, just as harvest wrapped up for you. What went on there?
Oh, well, I thought it was nothing. I finished combining, moved one combine home, started washing it. Thought, I'll go grab the other one. We got a little creek crossing. We cross it all the time, and usually I'm in high range and first, and I back the variable drive right off and just crawl through it. And I was going up it, and there was a loud pop and grinding, and I went back down the hill backwards real quick. Holy hell. I said, that was real bad. And I just took it out of gear and put it back in gear, and idled it down, and it just drove out and drove all the way home. And I went from, we lost the tranny to, it seems fine. And I got back to the yard, and I put it in low, drove around the yard, put it in high, drove around the yard. Perfect. It was nothing. Like, it probably wasn't good for it, but it's working. No big deal. And washed it up. And a week or two later, okay, let's take this home. to the main farm where it goes in the shop. Driving down the road and just coming up to the farm, and then there was another big pop and a lot of more strippy noises, and she came to a stop on the road. So I still have reverse though.
So do you plan on fixing the combine? You going to be looking at something else, or what's your plan there? Do you care to share what your plan is?
I don't have a real plan, but I'll fix it. I got 2 spare parts combines, so it's like, I don't know how long. Tranny is like a whole self unit that has slide couplers that go in to your finals, and then just a belt going on it. So really, you'd have your 2 shifter linkage, a clutch linkage, and I don't know how many bolts hold it in, 8, and it just falls on the ground. Like, it's literally, if you knew what you were doing, it'd probably be like a 45-minute job to change. So I will fix it, but yeah, I've been throwing out the ideas of upgrading just because I had some bad luck during harvest, even more than the meth head. I had the old man said he was going to be around the whole time to haul drive truck, and I had lined up the guy had the last couple of years to run combine. So yeah, I'll be there. So I was picking all of the little fields myself, and once we get to the oats, I'll get all the help. And the night before we started, buddy texted me, well, I had family things come up and I won't be there at all this year. I'm not going to pry, but that sounds fishy. But yeah, if you're not here, you're not here. It doesn't matter. And the old man was busy every day and wasn't around, which is fine. If you're busy, you're busy. So I'm out there trying to pick away at all this oats totally by myself, and just looking at, like, with that oats, it was just so thick and so much straw. I was really getting nothing done with the massey, especially trucking yourself when you're having that. Oats wasn't amazing by any means, but at 120 bushels an acre, you're still filling those trucks up and having to go dump midday, and it just eats your whole day up as a one-man show. So I was kind of joking, conservatively looking at maybe I should upgrade a combine. Not a huge upgrade. Maybe that's something I need going forward if I don't have that help I can depend on.
And that's one thing in farming that's getting harder and harder to find is help, and good help with that. And one thing we found is we're just talking to neighbors and amongst ourselves on my family farm is finding help and finding good help, because you can get somebody from town that doesn't know nothing, but they want $35-40 an hour and not know anything. And all they want to do is come sit in the seat. They don't want to service. They don't want to help fix. So help is getting harder and harder to find. I don't know where all these people went, because I can remember at one time you would have people in the yard just before harvest, just before seeding, looking for work. You don't see that anymore.
My dad threatened to fire me one time. He said, I'd fire you, but there's nobody lined up at the gate to take your spot. That's 20 years ago, and I'm still here. But I bet you he still thinks that, too.
Yeah, like I had offered to pay $30. I was offering to pay Buddy $30 an hour, and he's from the town. But I taught him for 2 years how to run it. He runs the header into the ground every once in a while, but so does old man. So what's the difference? Not a big deal. And I don't know. I don't know if there is a proper answer, but I lucked out because I was telling Buddy about this and then the method thing, and he goes, "Well, I got time between canola. The hell with it. I'm bringing the new combine I just bought over. It was not new, but a 7010 case, I think. And he brought it over, and he helped smash out a bunch of that oats a lot quicker. I would have been there for a week, 2 weeks. So it's good to have a good neighbor here and there.
Yeah, because the trucking's a big part. If you can keep the combine rolling all day, one thing. But if you don't have anybody to get rid of that grain, then all of a sudden stop, shut everything down, go unload a truck or 2 trucks, whichever way your pattern is, and then you fire back up, warm it back up, and do it all again. It's been hours since you combined.
Yeah. I lucked out there too, finally, that last weekend. Buddy, he's a spray paint pilot, Andy. He said, well, I guess I can come up there. And I said, okay, you're driving truck. He went, I guess. Kind of pushed him into it. And yeah, he drove. And that saved me. He kept joking. Do I got to bring a 9mm with me to drive truck in this area or what? Might not be a bad idea.
Ford 410 under the passenger seat.
Anything. I had nothing.
Well, you don't think you need that when you're hauling grain.
Well, the problem with that is, though, if you point it at somebody, you're more shit than the meth head trying to steal the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, the system's that flawed that there is no win.
You just get in trouble. If you're carrying a gun in your highway tractor, you get stopped for just a random inspection. Well, what's this gun for? Oh, there's still a meth head running around out here. Wow. Now you're more in trouble than the meth head is.
So a lot here in this episode, we've been talking about having a tough time during harvest, and Kale is a prime example of going through a tough harvest. And we understand that farming can be tough. So here in Saskatchewan, there's a service for that. It's called the Farm Stress Line. There's many other ones, but we like to promote the Farm Stress Line here. They won't ask you who you are. You don't even have to be a farmer or in distress. They are trained. They will talk to you. And if you qualify, you can get up to 6 hours of free counseling. It is an amazing service. I recommend if you need help, reach out to them.
Yeah, because, I mean, everything we do in these days is stressful, right? From combining the trucking to trying to keep the meth heads from getting into your truck. All that just adds to your stress. Like Kale said, he got home that day and he didn't know which way to turn. And if you don't have the support system at home and other people to talk to, you know, not dealing with a meth head jumping in your truck, but just in general, sometimes you need somebody to talk to, and maybe there's nobody at home you can talk to, or you don't think they can take you seriously. Then you give the Farm Stress Line a call, because they don't need to know your name. They don't need to know their name, but you can say what you need to say, get the stuff off your chest, and they'll help you through it, because they're trained professionals. This is their job. This is their passion. This is what they're there to do, is to help out farmers that are having a tough time, whether it's family issues, man issues, money issues. They're there to listen. And that's the big thing, is no one to say, I'm having a tough time handling this. If I talk to the right people, I can get through this. We can all get through this. And you'll just, if you had to, call that number. I guarantee it'll make a better day for you. But I got one more question back to the sleds there, Kale. I think I mentioned it in a video, and I'm hoping this winter they get up to Edmonton and see my family up there. And you don't happen to have any skills in a 1976 John Deere 300 snowmobile, do you?
No, but I'll learn them.
Oh, yeah, good. With the old bogey wheel suspension, I think it's a Kohler motor in there, 290 something. That's the sled that I grew up as a kid on. Dad drove us around, pulled the toboggan. That thing has spent more time upside down than on its track when we were riding it. One tippy sled. Maybe we'll have one ski up front because that's how it handles. But, Dad gave that sled away, and the guy had it for a year or two, then gave it back. Because I'd like to be able to have it and pull the rope and get it running and, hopefully not roll it like my dad always did, but at least take it for a boot around the yard and out in the field a couple of times. So I think you're the man to get that percolating for me, because, and not to mention, make some cool videos out of it.
Yeah, I know nothing about those John Deeres, but I'm assuming it has a Tiltson carb. And the idea behind the Tiltsons were amazing. You just turn a screw in or out for all your fuel.
Yeah, I would
they
think
just
so.
don't seem to work that way. I got a 74 Massey Ski Whiz, which would be right up the alley of that thing, but it's a 440 fanner. And I fought and probably rebuilt that Tiltson on it 6 times, me and Russell Liba, and he's a sled head. And we were so frustrated, and we finally got it running, and it ran for 2 years, and now it's acting up again, and we're looking at cutting an intake, flipping it, so instead of 2 going into 1, they both angle out past the steering rod, and doing twin Makunis on it. I don't know if it's really going to work, but that's the plan. But most likely that John Deere just needs a Makuni put on it, clutch clean, and if you can't get clutch parts, put a Comet Duster on it, and away it goes. Problem solved.
Yeah, you forgot more about sleds than I ever really want to know.
I don't know. I've only been working on sleds for like 3 years. Russell Liba, the one who raced the circle tracks and the pavement sleds, he's grew up with them his whole life, and he's older and retired and just likes to dink around with sleds. He's taught me tons, and there's always more you can learn, but you find a common problem and you at least look at that first and see, and every time you'll get one that throws you for a loop, but they're simple enough machines. You can get it figured.
Oh yeah, especially when you have the skill set that you have and the drive and the passion to get her, to get that stuff running. And, for me, there, I'd rather weld, a hopper bottom bin together than work on a carburetor. But that's just my own skill set and passion, but I'm glad there's guys like you out there can maybe get that old girl running for me. Next question.
We can manage that one.
Next question. Are you going to join the King of Pilsner and the old CK Farms at Bung Bung again? Or?
That's the plan. We missed the boat on hotels and the cabins that we had last year. So it's looking like we might have to drive from, is it Valemont?
I think that's somewhere up there. My uncle used to be my uncle was the mayor of McBride for years. As a youngster, we used to spend a lot of time up there in the summertime, family reunions and stuff. But it's been
last
30
year was
years.
the first time I've ever been there.
Beautiful place, and the river running through there. Oh yeah, that's a beautiful place.
But the plan is, like last year I took that 9500 Blizzard of mine up there and it went too good. Like it was trying to flood out on the bottom. So I just had to keep her pinned, and I got behind this Yamaha 540. I forget what the model that was. It an SRX or SVX or whatever the 540 Yamaha is, like an 82. 3, it was all piped up. And I never knew, like, am I being rude by like passing all these people or what? And that guy went by and I just got on his ass and ran all the way up the hill, so wide open so the thing wouldn't flood, and made it right to the top in like 10 minutes and left my whole group behind because I'm not letting this thing die on the trail, and sat up there for him. So although fun and cool for the first time, all the guys running those one-lunger Scorpions that battled their way up the hill looked like they had way more fun. So I want to, if I have time, to get that 74 Massey Ski Whiz going and take that up the hill, something a little more exotic. Because, yeah, I don't know, those guys on the Scorpions look like they had a blast.
Yeah, it's not as fast you got to the hill, to the top of the hill, as long as you got up there. And some of them guys that love that stuff. I got some neighbors here, they love their vintage sleds and tractors, and that's their passion. So more power to them. So I agree with you on that one. It might be just as much fun just to be putting your way up the hill on a single cylinder than flying up there on your 4-stroke turbocharged like I'll be doing.
Yeah, there's still time for you to buy an old ditch banger. Like a Phaser 2. I could see you on a Phaser 2.
Yeah. Well, that would be cool. That's the one with that external suspension. Oh, the old Phasers are cool looking sleds.
The pogo stick with the headlight on the steering handle or the handlebars.
I just know with our workload, and then if there is a chance of getting a holiday, with me having a younger family and stuff, I'd just rather just hop in the truck and take the whole family on something. But, and if my wife is more into sledding, which, that's not her passion, but maybe someday I'll be like CK and I'll take my daughter up there and have a good time.
Well, the girlfriend was mad she got left behind last year, so I think she's taking my ZL 440 this year.
Tyler, you're going to need a sled and join Kale up there.
Like you were saying before, Dallas, you got a young family. I also have a young family and a wife. I live a lot farther away from Bung Bung than both of you do, but one day I'll definitely try and make it. Might not be on a vintage sled, but it'll be on a sled at least.
That just means you get to pick us up on the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll bring the tow rope.
On the way up there, you used to leave your house and get to my house, and I'll throw my sleds in your trailer, and we'll swing by Kale's and throw his sleds in your trailer, and just keep cruising.
No, sounds like a plan.
Buy a big trailer.
Buy a big trailer, okay? Well, I got trailer brake controllers in 2 of the semis, and I think it's a 32-foot stock trailer. It could probably fit a few sleds in that.
You'd be surprised.
You'd be amazed. They don't fit.
Nope.
Unless you have an 8-foot wide stock trailer.
Yeah, it's an 8-foot wide.
I was going to say the exact same thing. You'd be amazed how shitty they fit in a stock trailer and how well they fit in a sled trailer. It's like a sled trailer is made to haul sleds. It's just amazing.
I'm sure you could haul a cow in a sled trailer too, though.
You probably could. The floor's a little light, but maybe you probably could.
I got a 45-foot aluminum trailer here that my grandpa used. He had a stagecoach that he'd do like Calgary Stampede and a bunch of rodeo stuff. And it's set up to have 8 horses in the front and a whole stagecoach in the back, triaxle, to be pulled behind a semi. We could put some sleds in that thing.
Yeah.
Has a stagecoach painted on the side of it, though, but, Then
they won't think there's sledders in there. We're good to go. Well, boys, this has been a slice. We didn't discuss, we talked a lot about Kale's farming. If you just listened to the last one, you heard how Tyler and I did on our farming practices and what's been going on. And Kale had a good year, minus the crackhead and stuff like that, but God, it makes for good stories. I really thank everybody for listening here to the old Bunny Hug Farmers podcast. Like Tyler and I have said many times before, and I hate to sound like a broken record, we have a ball making these. I love talking to farmers. I love talking farming, sleds, crackheads, all that fun stuff. It's just a ball. So really thanks everybody for listening to this. Again, I have a list of 13 or 14 more guests we're going to lined up here all winter long. We're going to be making episodes. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Bunny Hug Farmers podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one.